When we talk about breaking the cycle of poverty, there are two terms that I deemed important to understand. One is financial independence, and the second one is financial freedom. Are you with me? I tend to go very fast. So when I'm going fast, you alert me to come back. Financial independence and financial freedom. What is the difference? Most times we tend to mistake the two, but I am here to tell you that they are very different things, but they are all good things to have. So the first stage of financial freedom is financial independence, whereby what you earn is enough to cater for all your living expenses without borrowing. So if you earn a salary of 2 million and you can cater for all your living expenses, education, healthcare, rent, food, fuel, transport, without having to call someone to borrow, then you can say that you're financially independent. However, there can be situations whereby that financial independence can tumble. For example, that job that has been giving you that 2 million, if it is no more, will you still be financially independent? You won't. You are financially independent when the job was there. But when it's no more, you won't be financially independent. When something happens, an unforeseen circumstance, for example, usually it's health and you have to go, let's say, to India to travel for medical care, but you earn 2 million per month and they're asking you for 100 million, then the financial independence goes away. So that's where financial freedom comes in. Now, the difference between financial independence and financial freedom is that for financial freedom, you have enough money, enough investments, and enough savings to live comfortably without relying on a traditional job or without having any financial stress. I hope we see the difference. For financial freedom, the conditions under which you become broke sometimes are exponential crises. You are so firm in your financial position that the only way for you, even when COVID comes, even when inflation comes, even when a financial crisis comes, you will tumble a bit, but you will stabilize. That is financial freedom. If COVID comes and you go down, then you are financially independent, but you weren't financially free. So the conditions under which you can go broke when you have financial freedom are, I would say, world-ending events like World War or the coming of Jesus Christ, whereby your finances no longer make sense. An alien invasion. But otherwise, you're financially free. So it's not an easy tall order to achieve, but there is a roadmap to financial freedom. And that is what I wanted to bring to your attention today. Now, where do we start from? Before we go all there, I wanted to start from our current position as an individual. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever age you are, whatever employment you're in, whatever business you're doing, before asking yourself, am I financially free? Am I financially independent? You have to first assess your current position. Now, accountants will be very familiar with an income statement. How many of us here know what an income statement is or have ever heard that word? Yes, accountants will be very familiar with an income statement and a balance sheet. Now, at an accounting level, it's easier for them, but it's very applicable in our day-to-day life. So, for you to know where you're standing as a person today, and to gauge if you're financially independent, to gauge if you're actually living unknowingly in debt, you have to know that word. An income statement can be simplified for a normal person. Your income and your expenses. It's as simple as that. You earn 1 million per month, that is your income. You spend rent, transport, fuel, water, electricity, that is your expenses. So, your personal income statement, good thing this presentation came when we are starting the new year. You start the new year, you know that my salary and my job earns me 2 million per year. By the way, even if you're in university, you know that every month they give me 300,000 for upkeep. That is your position. So you know that for a whole year, I earn 12 million. 1 million per month, 12 million. Now, these expenses that we usually ignore, but you have the receipts. Whenever you pay water, you receive a receipt, but you can brush it off. Whenever you pay electricity, you receive a receipt. You know how much you tithe, that has to be put aside as a standard. So you calculate your expenses. Financial independence is when, if you earn 10 million in a whole year, okay, let's put it at a month level. If you earn 1 million per month as salary, and your total expenses of the month are 70% of that 1 million, your total expenses are 700,000 and below, then you can say that you have financial independence. Anything above 70% can easily push you in debt. So, are we good there? I'm trying to simplify. By the way, we are going to have a more detailed engagement on these things, but I'm going to hint on them and move. And I have the presentation, and we can revisit the video that is going to be on YouTube. So, making sure your total expenses are 70% of your income. What happens to the 30%? You either save it or reinvest it. Now, if you are a salary earner and you don't have any business that you're partaking, you can save it. We shall talk about how to save, because you realize that putting money under your pillow is actually not saving it. You're spending it under that pillow because of something called inflation. It loses value. So how do you save that money is something that we shall talk about in the future. So if you're in that position, you might not be in that position now, but when you take care of your expenses, when you look at your expenses, you can easily identify yourself and go to that position. So the goal, right now you might calculate and see that you're spending more than what you're earning. Don't be discouraged. Now the goal is to cut down those expenses so that you can go to 70%. By the way, if you asked me how much I spent on Monday, I know it by head. I know how much I gave the border. I know how much I tipped. I know how much I used to eat. I know everything. And one thing that people that are around me get surprised is that I can have a memory of all the expenses I've incurred, because I understood that those small expenses that we ignore are what usually drives us away from financial freedom. So every expense has to be accounted for. So do we know what an income statement is now? Are we all on the same route? I don't want to go, and I'm going alone. How many people have understood by show of hands? The rest have not understood? Is there someone who's not sure? Because we would rather learn one thing, but when all of us have understood it, we cannot reserve time to learn something else. Income, expenses, 70%, reinvest the 30%. Now, that is not enough. There is something called a balance sheet. I'm also going to simplify it for you. So now, the difference between an income statement and a balance sheet is that an income statement looks at what you earn and what you spend on. But it does not really show you your net worth. Because you might have land, but it does not represent in what you earn and what you spend, because it might just be there seated, right? It is not generating for you income and you're not spending on it anything. So the balance sheet is what will bring you in your actual net worth. Some of us put on these ties, we come driving, and we think we have made it. Joshua is a big man in URA, but when his balance sheet is saying otherwise. Am I clear? And that's why sometimes when we receive a financial shock, we go down. So when it comes to a personal balance sheet, you have your current assets. So what are current assets? This is the cash you have in your bank, any liquid investments that you have. For example, you're invested in treasury bills, government bonds. You have what do they call those bank accounts? A fixed deposit account, and you have cash there. So those are all cash investments. You might not have it in your pocket, but it's somewhere generating for you income. Your current assets, which is the cash at hand. If you're in business, the stock you have in your store is also part of your current assets. Your cash, your stock, your liquid investments, I've said, if you have a fixed deposit, you have money at the bank moving somewhere, that's a liquid investment. Any money that you lent out to people and you expect it back. For example, I lent a friend a 100K, he's going to give it to me at the end of the month. That's also a current asset because that money is coming back. That's if it comes back, anyway. And then, even any expenses that you pay up front. Some of you can pay the food lady 3 months up front. You'll be bringing me food every day. You get? That's an asset because you would have had that cash in the bank, but you've chosen to give it to the food lady, right? So you calculate all those as your current assets. Then you get, so current assets, the word current means there are things that can be easily transformed into cash, or they can be easily liquidified. You get the point, eh? You can easily call the food lady and say, I've changed my mind, I'm going to fast for the next 3 months, give me back my money. So those are your current, that's how you know what a current asset is. And then you have your non-current assets. Are we moving together?
Yes.
Non-current assets, this is your land, this is your car, this is your house, these are the refrigerator, the flat iron, the shoes, the shirt. Do you calculate those things? Do you know that some of your assets depreciate? They lose value. Every time I wash this shirt, it loses value. So if I spent 250,000 buying it, the first time I wash it, it's now 240. And it's now going to become 230. So if I think that I have a 250,000 shirt that I bought, it is now 80,000. You see how you have to calculate those things to really know your net worth. You might not go into the detail, but at least the main things. Cars depreciate. The decision to buy a car should be based on the depreciation. There are some cars that you buy at 100 million and immediately you drive out of the bond. Even if you take a U-turn and want to sell it at that bond, they will tell you it's 70 million now. Because of depreciation. As long as a car's number plate is issued, as long as they issue a car a number plate, it starts to lose value. Because buli omu ayagala ka number. Don't so? Some even go, I remember my car is a UBN 930D. Someone was asking me, why did you get 930D? You should have got 930Z. I'm like, even the last digit, you're minding about it. So that's how depreciation works. So you have to know, the car that I bought at 100 million is now valued at 30 million. That's it. So you look at your assets, your current assets, we talked about them, your non-current assets, you even put in the element of them losing value, depreciating, to know the actual value of what you have. all those things in the house, the fridge, TV that you buy money, as long as the phone that you have, you buy it 5 million, in 1 month it's worth 4.5. So you have to calculate that now I lost 500,000 in 1 month because I bought that phone. So that's how you calculate the value of your non-current assets. Are we clear? Yes. You have your current assets, you have your non-current assets, you have calculated them very well. You have known their actual value. Yeah? Now you're going to compare both of them, because these are your assets, these are things you own. You're going to compare them to your liabilities. Abakubanja, people who demand you. So, your current, and even the liabilities have two. They have current and non-current, but a non-current liability is one thing. Is a bank loan. Eh? When you have a loan for, let's say, 5 years, 7 years, 20 years, 10 years, that is a non-current, because you have to pay it over a period of 20 years. But the only component you calculate of that loan is the amount you have to pay in that year or in that month. But the rest is going to be paid over a long period of time. But your other non-current liability, your other liabilities, like, remember, you have stock as your asset. Remember, as a business owner, you have stock, but that stock might have come from a supplier who you haven't yet paid. You're waiting to sell and pay them. So the credit from that supplier is a liability. You have to pay it. You have more cash, quick loan. It's a liability. We usually access those easy loans from the phone. You have rent. If you have rent arrears, 3 months have passed, you have not yet paid for your shop or your home, that's a liability. You have not yet paid for it. So the difference, if I'm to take you back, what's the difference between an expense and a liability? Can someone give me an answer? Because I want to know if you're following, even if I'm burning to my time. What is that difference? The difference between an expense and a liability is that an expense, you take out money and pay, but a liability you have not yet paid. So you have rent arrears as a liability. Could someone help us pass the mic? Because I see when people put up their hand, I would like for them to be engaged. So, if you get whatever you're worth as in form of assets, your liabilities should be 40%. I was surprised. It should be 40%. All your liabilities should be 40% of your current assets. The moment your liabilities are more than that, you're in trouble. Why? You've seen people that have a land of 1 billion and it was being demanded 300 million and that land was sold. You have not seen those scenarios? Have you seen such scenarios? Have we seen such scenarios whereby they take your assets for much less than their value? Because you said, I have assets worth 1 billion. I can take a loan. I can take a loan of 800 million. Then when you fail to pay it, the 1 billion asset goes. But as long as your liabilities are within 40%, it might not be the case, because sometimes it's hard. Where it's hard, when you're starting out. Sometimes you don't have access to capital. Sometimes you don't have access to that income that I talked about. Sometimes the only way to start out is to get a loan. You can get a loan in the bank, but you know they usually want security. If you don't want security, you get a loan from your father or from a relative, and you have to pay it back. So in that case, your liability will be higher than your assets, or they will be a bit equal. But your goal should be to work towards pushing it to 40%. The first sales you make when you get that loan from that uncle, pay him back very fast. Don't first get excited because the uncle is not calling you and not putting you on pressure. And then you first buy the shoes, the TV, first pay back. So that you leave him at least, even debt is good, that's the point, 40%. Mind you, rich business people don't use their money. They use debt and sell them here. And you know the prices of China. Eh? You can buy something for 4,000 and sell it at 20,000. You know that? Because they are very cheap. If I have my 500 million and I know that I can go to China, bring things worth 500 million, even sell them and make a profit of 2 billion. I will go to the bank. I will use my 500 million to bring that stock. Then I will go to the bank, get 20 million, and use it to pay rent, to pay fuel, what. Because I know I am making 3 times the 500 million when the stock has reached. And the bank is taking just 14% per year. So I'm in a net profit position. The interest I'm paying to the bank is lower than the money I'm earning from my own income. Does that make sense? It makes sense. As long as the money you're earning from your own capital is higher than that, and sometimes those banks have a tendency of giving you that money at an even lower margin, because when you bank with them, they see you have 500 million, they see you go to China, you bring, whenever you sell, you deposit on their account, they are secure, they can give you that money. Even without security, even at a discounted rate, because they know it's safe. The reason why banks in Uganda, the rates are high, is because the money is not safe. But if the money is safe on their accounts, they will give you discounted rates. So that's how rich people use debt to chill and eat, and their money is working for them. We are clear? Yes. So we know how to do a personal balance. What is the first one? An income statement, your income and expenses, and then the balance sheet shows you your net worth. Now, the balance sheet has to balance. That's why it's called a balance sheet. Okay? So how does it balance? When you have your assets, let's say your total assets are 100 million, and we have said your liabilities are 40 million, which is 40% of them. The 60 million should be your capital, your reinvested capital. Remember when you said 30% of your income should be reinvested or saved? You get when you get your earnings from your business that your uncle gave you a loan from, if you make profit from, your uncle can give you money, you start a business, and you earn income and make a profit. So that profit that you use to pay back your uncle replaces his loan in your balance sheet. So the profit becomes your retained earnings against the loan of your uncle. So you pay your loan against your profit. So the profits are replacing the loan you took. Is that okay? We shall have maybe some time to go deeper into it. So I looked at some things that you need to look out for as you go on this journey of establishing your personal income statement and your personal balance sheet. First, the first cause of financial stress is cars. You get 30 million, you get a good deal, and sometimes it can be a random deal. You earn 1 million per month. But you have an uncle who wants to sell land. He calls you as his son, he trusts you. You go, you get buyers, you get a commission of 30 million. You go and buy a Benz. Atari financially independent. Already your 1 million was covering your expenses. So you don't feel like you need anything. This 30 million can buy you a Benz. What happens is that the fuel, remember on your 1 million there was no fuel, there was no repair, there was no depreciation of that Benz. So now all those things are going to pile up on your 1 million income. You see how you go into debt? Does that make sense? So it's one thing that you have to look out for is before you buy a car, you have to look at your, by the way, it took me some time to buy a car. A very long time. I think I started working in 2016 and I bought my first car in 2022. That's after 8 years. But I can tell you in 2018, I could afford a car, but I didn't buy it. A personal car. We had a business car. At some point, we had a company and we had a business car that we would share with my boss, but I didn't have a personal car. When I told you that we have a school, it's no coincidence that I drive a Nua. I could drive a Harrier or a RAV4, a Benz or what, because when a car breaks down at the school, the Nua can easily fill in. You get the logic? So for me, the decision to buy a car was depending on practicability. I didn't see why a car should depreciate in the parking that I pay for every day. I pay parking so that the car can depreciate in it and sit there for the whole day waiting for me in the evening to go and pick it and go back home. So I got something that was a bit practical. Actually, in the beginning, when I wasn't buying a car, it's the school van. After picking the kids at like 7:30, they would take me to my workplace. They come back. After dropping kids in the evening, they come and pick me, they go back. So it's only when we took more routes and bought more vans that this one became a bit free for me to now use. And I think I also had to move to Jinja. I was sent for an assignment in Jinja, and it didn't make it. Now it made sense for me to own one. So still, it had to be something practical. So your decision to buy a car should be very practical, because I've seen for people that are starting out, this is the first thing that leads them into debt. The other thing is having discipline. I might rub some shoulders the wrong way, but polygamy is the biggest causer of debt. Because we're on camera, I cannot give live examples, but I've witnessed it. A lot of people have built a lot of wealth, but because the children are fighting and all this, and there is no better way to align the finances, everything goes. So men, discipline is important. Even for ladies, discipline is important. I see most ladies, when they start a business, it gives them some profit. Dubai, Thailand, Bali, Mombasa. Ever since I came back from Egypt, that is in June 2022, I've never traveled. I've only traveled once to Rwanda. I was going for a friend's wedding. That's it. But my friends, every after 3 weeks, tugenda Singapore, tugenda Dubai, tugenda Bali. You get? So I've seen a lot of people get some small money, and then they feel like, now I'm financially free. Just because you have that job that can go, and that financial independence goes. Another sensitive topic that I've seen affects actually the children is education. You can get, let's say you earn a salary, and this happens, you can earn a salary of like, let's say, 50 million. And because of this salary, you feel like your child should go to ISU, International School of Uganda. They pay $12,000. That is around 42 million. We are not in the same league. Some animals are more equal than others. So you feel like, for me, for my kids, I can survive on the balance of 8 million. Anyone can survive on 8 million. My kids have to go to ISU. You earn 50 million, 42 million goes on. It's a good thing because you're investing in education. But the problem is, when that 50 million job goes, a kid that has been going to ISU, guys, I went to school, my education was in Aga Khan, and we used to hang out with ISU Kisune. For us, twali bantu bawansi, kubali, nga conversations are a bit different. That kid will not be able to adjust even to Aga Khan, because they would see us as the broke guys in their sphere. And that kid will struggle to adjust. And yet there are very many good schools that give the same value. But because of the lifestyle you have put them in, in an income that is not stable and does not put you in a position of financial independence, and trust me, when they get depressed, they will not perform well in that school. You will see things like drug abuse. They will feel like this is too ghetto for them. They are over-escaping because they are used to a different life. You get what I mean? Those people of ISU, they put on layer. They don't put on uniform. You put on uniform when you want. You can swim if you want to swim. When you're tired, you can go and rest a bit. Life is different. You have to go on vacation somewhere. Those are the things that can, for you as a person, you can easily adjust you that now I'm no longer earning the 50 million, now I have a job of 5 million. You can still manage the school fees, but that child will not be able to adjust to the new environment. So it's always good to keep them within the range of environment that speaks to your financial independence or your financial freedom. Before you take someone to a very good school, you have to be knowing that even if the job ended today, I can pay for the next 6 years of their school fees. That's it. If you feel like if the job goes you can't pay, then it's better to give them a very good school. There are very many very good schools that give quality education, but they are not that expensive. So those are the things to look out for. You control leisure expenditure. I've talked about it. Travel, parties, outing, buying flashy things, peer pressure because you want to fit into some groups and they are going to this branch and they are going here. You avoid all those things. The good thing is when you do your financial position, you know your net worth, you know how much you spend, you know the goal you want to achieve, the percentages. I need my expenditures to be 70% of my income. I need my liabilities to be 40% of my assets. The good thing, all these things will fall off. You will not be peer pressured to be in any things that you don't intend to be because you have purpose and you know where you're going.
A quick question.
Yes.
But we live once. About the leisure.
I know. Also, you can control the expenditure of leisure. I've not said you do away with it. Because it's also good to refresh and rewind. A retreat, you get. Like your mind needs to relax and you be in an environment. You're not a machine, you can't just go. But still, a leisure expenditure is part of your income expense. As long as when you go on that trip, you still remain within 70% of your income, you're okay. As long as when you add that trip to rent, to fuel, to everything that you have to spend on, you're still within the range of 70%, you're okay. I'm talking about a situation where you blow all the money on these luxuries and remain with nothing. Is the question answered?
Yes.
Yes. How do you know that you're on the right track? Now, why I mixed these things is because I realized that in Uganda, we don't differentiate business income and personal income, business expense and personal expense. The kid is not going to be chased out of school and you make sales in a day and you don't go to save the situation. You get? So usually those things are mixed, and separating them takes some time. So that's why when I talk about expenses, I mix both of them because I know they will overlap. If you see that you can pay your suppliers without borrowing, the people that gave you stock, because the problem is someone can give you stock and be like, sell in 3 months and give me back my money. But now for you, when you're selling, you're spending. So after 3 months, you don't have the money to pay him back and you have to go and get a loan. So if you see that you can pay your suppliers without borrowing, you know that you're on the right track. If you see that you can survive 1 or 2 months without income, that if I don't sell this month and next month I can still have some money to survive, then you know that you are doing well. If you can't survive next month if you don't earn, then you know that you're in trouble. If you see that your stock your equipment, your tools that you use in business keep increasing. You are bringing stock of 10 million, now you're bringing stock of 15 million. You're increasing in business, then you know that you're on the right track. If you see that you're now slowly separating your personal and business expenses, you can know now this is this and this is this is going to be handled like this, then you know that you are on the right track to financial independence and financial freedom. When you see that you're paying off your debt and your assets are staying constant or they are increasing, that is very crucial. There are so many people that will be like, let me get this loan. After all, I have a lot of land. I will sell one and pay it back. Before you know it, when you harness that habit, the land will go. You understand me? So if you say that you can maintain your lands and still pay everyone who demands you comfortably from the money that you're earning and making, then you know that you're on the right track. Are we okay? Are we tired? The people in the back are not speaking if they are tired. Are we tired? We go? Okay. Now, I really wanted to give value in this presentation, and there are two aspects that I wanted to tackle, but for purposes of time, if time allows me, I'm going to switch up my presentation and concentrate on something very crucial. If time allows me, I'll go back on something else. The thing that I want to talk about, I told you that I did investment analysis and risk. So I've been on the trading floor. I know things about crypto, forex trading. I know stock exchanges and all that. So these are usually the investments that people run to because they're easy to put in money. I wanted to dissect that for you and help you make decisions on what to put money in. But if time allows, I'll tell you. But for now, I'm going to talk about the more practical thing. And that is knowing what business should we venture in. Investment and business. I hate to break it to you, but there are only two ways to attain financial independence and financial freedom. It's through investment and business. Jobs have never been a way to attain financial freedom. Jobs are a tool to accumulate capital for you to invest and attain your financial freedom. So don't think that because I have a job of 10 million, I can spend all that money and I'm kawa and that job is there, I am financially free. Something can happen and that job is not anymore and you'll go back to zero. So how you invest the money you earned from that job is what will determine financial freedom and financial independence. Now, investment and business are different because investment has to do with putting your money somewhere and it works for you passively. But business, you're actively involved. So I wanted to talk about how do you establish the business to deal in, and how do you know that your business is on the right track. I customized this area so that any business that you're dealing with, it can make sense. There is a book by a gentleman called Hilton Hamler. It's a book on strategy. It's called 7 Powers. All the businesses that have been successful in the world have these 7 powers and nothing else. All the businesses that have been consistently successful in the world exercise these 7 powers. And they are applicable to any level of business. So, first of all, how do you establish the venture to go in? Should you go into employment? Should you go into business? Should you invest? Should you do this? First of all, you have to do an honest assessment with yourself. We have talked about first knowing your net worth. And then we talk about you have to establish your professional competences. What am I actually good at? You might be an accountant, but your professional competence is not accounting, it's music. And that's it. Whenever you open that balance sheet and income statement, bikuzanya. But when you're on the piano, clear. You get? So you have to have an honest conversation. What things do you have experience in? I told you we have a school that we appropriate. I'm not a teacher, but I have a lot of experience in education. So for me, it's the business that made most sense to focus on. Yeah, so that is the first thing you have to sit down to. Sometimes you need to seek an opinion from friends, because friends can tell you the truth. You can have this business idea and then you know it's going to work. But when four people are not seeing it the way you're seeing it, sometimes you might be right, but most times you might be wrong. Sometimes your friends might not be open to you, so you might seek advice from an independent financial advisor, someone who can break it to you without bias. So whatever idea you have, you can always seek opinions from friends and advisors. Don't attach too much emotions on a business. Sometimes you attach emotions. You feel like this is the thing you have to do. You need money. Whether you, there is a book I read and they were like, the people who, the industrial age, the industrial revolution, the people who built railways, who built steel companies, were not so fascinated and passionate about railways, or about steel, or about oil, that I love oil. No. They needed money. And that is the thing that gave them the money. You get what I mean? Sometimes you need to not attach emotions to what you want. Sometimes you need to do something that you know very well. If I did this, it's going to get me money. As long as it is legit, it is ethical, and I don't want you to call me and you told me that scamming is what is going to give me money. Me, I went. I want to save you. But it has to be ethical, legit, and follows in your beliefs. So that is what you have to go. That's what to go for. Now I'm going to dive into this. The first power. Now you have your business. You have a saloon. You're a boda rider. You have a food store, a food stand. You have a restaurant, whatever business. Remember, we started by our net worth as people. Not so? Yes. Now we are looking at the business. We are going to test this business, because what happens, what I've seen happen in my line of work is that when business people start a business and they get money, they start splash spending. They start behaving like they no longer want to go to work at 7. This shop opens at 11. If you don't place the order on Tuesday, they don't work on you for the week. You have to wait next week. You get those tendencies. So what happens is that the business can come and you can develop those tendencies because you're the only one maybe in that area selling that item and people need you. But once someone gets into the market, everything goes. And now you see people struggling to adjust. You get, and the business goes down. So, what are these character tendencies that you have to look out for to sustain whatever you're invested in or whatever business you're doing? The first one is scale economies. What does it mean is that the more you produce, the less the cost of production. If you have a restaurant, the more you get customers, instead of going to the Kaduka and they sell you sugar at 5,000, now you'll go to a wholesaler because you have more customers and buy